tweet has been sent.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 106 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Here for you on another Wednesday night at 7:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Episode 106. Unfortunately, the excitement of the MLB trade deadline, depending on who you root for, has been overshadowed in some ways by a couple extremely tragic deaths in the sports world. Bill Russell, Vince Scully yesterday. I mean, just two of the biggest personalities and, legacies in their respective sports and sports in general. I mean, Vince Scully had a 67-year run with the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. Bill Russell, titles like you read about, so many. This incredible legacy has just been he's one of the first guys you think of when you think of the Celtics, any era. He's mm-hmm. just been such an influential figure for the Celtics basketball, and just losing both of them is crazy. Within a week.
Yeah, within a couple of days. I mean, Russell was the end of last week, and Vince Scully was last night, I think it was. But on the Bill Russell thing, because that was obviously the first passing, as you mentioned. For both of them, really, I feel like it's two guys that across just sports, and like you said, because they were just such great people, let alone what they did for the sports that they were in. Probably two guys that I feel like you're not going to find someone to say really anything negative about. I mean, Bill Russell, obviously a great basketball player that he was. We didn't get to see that. Obviously, weren't around when he played. But to see him, the fighter for civil rights and the activist for justice and equality and stuff like that he was during the his post basketball playing career, and just what he meant for so many guys like the Kobe Bryants and the Kevin Garnetts and the young guys coming into the NBA now. Again, it's two guys that you really can't probably find anybody who will say anything negative about. And then on the Vince Scully thing, obviously you obviously know about him. One of the best storytellers in baseball. Again, a guy that I heard Don Orsillo talking today. I told a story about him coming up as a 19-year-old intern and what Vince Scully did to help him out. So everyone seems to have a story about Vince Scully. I feel like you can say the same thing about Bill Russell. Just obviously two great guys. And yeah, I mean, thankfully they just kind of both peacefully passed away. It wasn't anything too tragic or not dramatic or anything like that. But yeah, just two really, really tough losses in the sports world. One obviously for the NBA, one for baseball, and they're both going to be missed because, like I said, for what they did for the sport, and then just outside of it too, is as influential as they were.
Yeah, and I mean, for baseball, I think you can say 100% sure Vince Scully, the greatest ever, arguably the greatest broadcaster ever.
Oh, absolutely.
He's got to be.
Mm-hmm. It's him and think Doc Emmerich for storytellers. I was getting into him.
Unbelievable storytellers,
mm-hmm.
and just personalities, super intelligent and dedicated to what they did and loved what they did. And
mm-hmm.
it just really came out in their work. And now that, Doc is retired, Vince Scully's sadly no longer with us. It's just crazy. Two of the greatest ever. And Bill Russell, like you said, all he did, for civil rights and for black basketball players, and as the first black head coach. I mean, what a titan of basketball, what a
mm-hmm.
success story, because he just accomplished so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with a lot of other people out there to say, I think they should retire his number across the
absolutely.
league.
Yep.
100%. How can you not? There's really no reason not to.
No,
it doesn't matter who it affects. And, their number, I'm sure they'll understand.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things I saw a lot of people allude to, the Jackie Robinson, in baseball. No one wears 42. No one should ever wear 6 in the NBA, just again, because of what you think of. Bill Russell obviously is one of the most winningest players in the NBA, college basketball, all the stats that back it up, the crazy numbers, the biggest one, obviously the 21-0 and winner take all games, whether that's the NCAA tournament, the Olympic medal round, deciding game 5s or 7s of the NBA. Just an absolute dominant force there. I always feel kind of one of the maybe overlooked guys when you talk about GOATs in the NBA. Obviously, everyone brings up Jordan and LeBron, rightfully so, but I feel like Bill Russell, just from a winning standpoint, again, because the numbers back it up. We're not even going to go into all of them, but just for the people, you just go look it up. if you didn't know. I think Bill Russell is one of those guys that should definitely be up there for GOAT conversation. If you're talking like 11 championships, like you said, player coach, the success he had with that. Again, just an absolute dominant force. And then, the thing with Vin Scully, like arguably the best to ever do it in baseball. I don't think that's, anyone's going to dispute that. Again, I always found it amazing, and it gets the thing with Vin Scully. So, maybe it's not the most amazing thing to people, but just the fact that he could call a baseball game by himself. Like, obviously you and I have never called a professional, like at that level, game or anything like that. But just thinking how hard it is to call a baseball game with so much downtime and, the stories he would tell and come up with and just, keep things interesting. Cause like, I feel like a lot of times if you're like, oh, this guy's going to call a baseball game, but he's going to, and not that Vin Scully did it, but like just tell stories for the time, people might be like, well, that's not going to be entertaining to listen to, or that's not, that's going to get boring at times. I feel like it was never the case with Vin Scully. He always, kept you engaged, kept you interested, and kind of just let things breathe in baseball. Like he wasn't solely just like, all right, the count's 1-2, that's a foul ball. Like he'd let things kind of just play out as is, which made him so great too, to tie that in and just, find a balance for both those things, the storytelling aspect, and then knowing when to, make obviously the comment on what's going on for the game.
Yeah, he was just a master of what he did. And he was one of those guys, there's a saying out there are some announcers that are so good, it feels like they're in the living room with you wherever you're watching the game. And
definitely fits that bill.
Say that about Vin Scully and Bill Russell too. I mean, Hall of Famer, 12-time All-Star, 11-time champ, 5-time MVP, 1968, 69 All Defensive Team, 4 times TRB champ. Does that stand for total rebounds?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, TRB. Believe that's total rebounds. 11-time All NBA, 62, 63 All-Star MVP, and the NBA 75th anniversary team. So quite a bit of accolades. Just a crazy resume, and a guy that was so well respected by so many, as was Vin Scully. Just 2 titans of the sport. Their respective sports gone within a week. It's just absolutely mind blowing. I legit saw the notification on my phone about Bill Russell and screamed. Like I was sitting on my couch and I like literally let out a scream. Vin Scully, I was just like, I was about to fall asleep and I saw it and I was just like, I was too tired to have a reaction like that, but I just looked at my phone and I like rubbed my eyes and like made sure I saw it correctly. It's just
for me
to see. And like you said, it's good that they went peacefully, but it's just crazy that they're gone.
That's what I mean. It's like you keep just saying it. It's 2 titans. So like I kind of had the same reaction with Vin Scully last night, where it was like same thing, getting ready to go to bed. You see that, and you're like, Jesus, we just lost Bill Russell 3 or 4 days ago, whatever the timeline was, or Sunday he passed away. So that's what, 3 days ago. And then you lose Vin Scully a couple days later. It's like, give us a break for 1 second. It's tough to obviously lose a guy like Bill Russell. I mean, again, what he meant for one sport, and then to lose Vin Scully a couple days later for another sport. It's like, it's kind of rough, but
yeah,
again, like, it's not like it was, unless, something comes out, I don't think anything's going to, but like they didn't suffer anything. Again, passed away peacefully. So that's, I guess, maybe one of the positives you can take away, that there was nothing, too overly tragic about it. But again, it's 2 losses that'll sting, and it's going to rock the sports world as it already has. You've seen, numerous players, former players, coaches, broadcasters across both sports talking about both guys. So it obviously the lasting impact both of them had. I completely forgot. I thought Vin Scully retired. I was talking to my dad about it today. Sooner, I forgot 2016, going all the way back then, was the last time he called a baseball game. I could have sworn like 2019, 2020 was the last, or when he retired. But he's been gone out of baseball for a while. Then obviously you hear the calls and stuff like that on Twitter. You get obviously the memories come flooding back in of what Vin Scully did and what he meant for baseball.
Yeah, just 2 incredible leaders, role models, and just professionals in their own rights. Just crazy that they're both gone within a week.
Yep.
Yeah, we like to send our strength and condolences and well wishes to the families, friends. It's just crazy that they're both gone so soon from one another, and they'll be dearly missed by so many. Like, it's just, it's crazy. It still doesn't feel real.
Nope.
And I'm not sure it will for a while. It's really unfortunate, really heartbreaking to see them go. But their legacies will live on. That's always a good thing. So
yep, absolutely.
We'll never forget them. On to moments of the week. This past week was Tuukka Rask's renewal of vows / wedding, I think is kind of like a situation where they're going to get married during COVID. COVID puts a damper on a wedding. Then things are thankfully opening up more and more with time. So they said now it's time to go to Italy, have some fun, and let loose a little bit more. So they did so. Pretty crazy. Looked like the greatest place in the world to be. Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, Krejci, Krug, Lucic, John Moore, Jarl Halak. Sure, some members of the Bruins brass, throughout the organization, friends, family. The list goes on. It just looked like so much fun. Like it. Oh my God, it was just an absolute blast to follow on social media. If anybody follows me, they know I was all over it because I couldn't get enough of it. It was just really putting a smile on my face all weekend, and providing some good context. It's always nice to see the guys together. Obviously, with Krug elsewhere now, John Moore. A guy that wasn't here for super long, but clearly made some close connections with his teammates.
It's a little surprising.
Yeah, they love John Moore, man. They really do. He's very close to a lot of the guys from how it seems hanging out. He went with Smith and Bergeron to that UFC fight where everybody saw Bergeron in the cast a few months ago in Plymouth. So yeah, even though he's in Anaheim now, John Moore is still part of the clan. And Krug, I always feel like when I see Krug like commenting on a Bruins player post, I'm like, damn, this guy really did not want to leave here.
No, he kind of got the shit end of the stick when it came to that.
Yeah, but it's good to see they're so close. And, I saw some people saying this in my mentions. Milan Lucic is a free agent next summer.
I don't know about that.
Bring him in on the minimum. He'll come back on the minimum. If that offer is there, he will come back, and they will.
I'd probably take him over Foligno. Like, all right, if you can convince me of that, then sure.
Yeah, just don't give Lucic $3.8 million. Like,
that'd be dumb.
But I don't know. Tons of fun. Taylor Hall got married as well. Not as many funny videos and stuff coming out of that, but we saw like Jake DeBrusk there, Eric Howla, now former Bruin, Nick Foligno, a lot of the guys. Charlie Coyle, I think, was there, and a few others. So congratulations to Tuukka, congratulations to Taylor Hall, and their now wives. I don't know like how that works with renewal of vows, like in terms of how that progresses like marriage terms and stuff like that. But regardless, saying it all means the same in the end. Congratulations to them.
Absolutely.
So, awesome content to see. Had to highlight that in moments of the week because it was awesome. Big smile on my face the whole weekend. It was cool to see Jarl Halak there too because he was in Vancouver, now he's the Rangers. Cool to see them still hanging with Jarl. Really easy guy to root for when he was here. So other quick NHL notes because we're not going to talk about hockey a ton. I figured I'd just touch on these while
they're out there
talking about them. Yeah. Most recent, like Bruins at least, Anton Bleed signs a one-year contract with the Colorado Avalanche going cup chasing. Just
comes as no surprise.
I don't know if he's going to get that playing time he wanted, given the fact that it's Colorado, but they still have some pieces in limbo, whether they get Kadri back, whether they make a trade if they get Kadri back to accommodate him cap-wise. I don't know, but maybe that one way tells them that he's going to be a permanent fixture on the fourth line for most of the season, but good luck to him. Easy guy to root for, absolute freaking maniac on the ice. Other notes around the NHL. Jesper Bratt signed for 1 year today, $5.45 million, setting himself up to cash out because he'll probably have another awesome season. Andrew Mangiapane signed last night, 3 years, $5.8 million per. Like that deal for them. They actually have space for that now, given the fact that they didn't end up with Johnny Gaudreau and Matt Tkachuk. So they got some space to spend on Mangiapane now. They also spent some of that space, on Oliver Shillington, who signed a 2-year, $5 million deal. So tidying up some business there. Other than that, like it's that part of the summer where things have definitely slowed down. Other Bruins news, Brett Harrison officially signed his entry-level contract. Excited to see how he progresses down in Providence this year. He's in the mix with the Canadian World Junior team down the road. So that'll be interesting to watch. Speaking of the World Juniors, there's a report out there from Bruins Network that Riley Duran is apparently making the U.S. team for next week's World Juniors because they had to reschedule them. They would play in Edmonton. pretty impressive. It was a pretty stacked group of players for Duran to stick around. A guy with some skill, but more so a guy at the NHL level, probably top out of the third line forward. So clearly he did a lot to earn that spot, but we'll see. Nothing's official until they release the roster. So we'll see that, but that'd be huge and really cool to watch Riley Duran next week. And Don Melis, who was one of their fourth rounders this year, made Team Latvia. So congratulations to Don's. There was a report that he committed to Northern Michigan, I think about 4 or 5 days ago from Mark Diver, but apparently that's not official yet. And some Hockey East and Big Ten teams are hoping he changes his mind. Maybe BC will be one of them. Join a bunch of his potential future teammates in Kuntar, Gasso, Ty Gallagher, and Oscar Jelvik, all at BC, all Bruins prospects. So we'll see. Love to see him go there as well, but it'll be Northern Michigan or a Big Ten school or Hockey East school. We'll see when the official announcement comes out on that, but a lot going on with our boy Dons. And the other moment of the week, because look, this segues us into the other football topic.
A lot of wacky bullshit going on in the NFL the last couple of days. I don't know what's happening with this league.
Dude, Trevor Penning has been kicked out of OTAs 3 days in a row. He's one of their 2 first-round picks, him and Chris Olave. Chris Olave, to my knowledge, hasn't been kicked out.
He's been doing well from what I've heard or what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean,
this guy not so much though.
I need Chris Olave to rule. I have him on my dynasty team, so that'd be sick.
That'd be nice.
I mean, what the fuck are you doing? He do this clear video of it too. He's clearly holding the shit out of players.
I start swing at somebody. Shoving. Yeah. Yep.
Dude, what are you doing?
I mean, to play devil's advocate, I don't know. Are you trying to set a tone or something? Are you trying to come in here and be like, I'm not afraid to back down from anybody? I don't care if you're a 14-year vet or I don't understand it.
Videos, he is holding the shit out of
he's egregiously, not playing the position that way you're supposed to. You are going to get flagged for those things.
3 days in a row is exactly too many days. So
yeah,
he needs to figure that out and needs to just fucking chill. I actually just
go sit in the corner for a couple of minutes. Go take a seat on the bench really quick for me and cool off and then come back. We'll try it again.
So something that actually came out after we recorded last week, Kyler Murray's whole thing got washed the whole the friggin' clause he had.
Independent studying clause. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that was funny how that got squashed.
Mm-hmm.
We're all right, this is just a bad
shocker. Yeah. What's a worse look though? I had this discussion with a couple of buddies of mine at work. Is it a worse look for the Cardinals to put the clause in the contract to begin with, or is it a worse look to take the clause out after so many people shit on him for it and ragged Kyler Murray, being you don't study the playbook like I did. So what's worse? Having it in the first place or taking it out to begin with? In your opinion?
Because
I think so too.
It just acknowledges that this is stupid, and to begin with, this shouldn't have even been public knowledge. Probably.
No, I was just gonna say it should have been published.
Yep. And now everybody's doing the whole thing with during double XP weekend.
That's hilarious. I love that though. That's so funny.
That's just what the internet is here for.
The stats back it up. You can't deny them.
Yeah, I mean, he loves video games, and you can't just say he's a casual video gamer. He's in FaZe Clan, the biggest video game organization in the world. He's in FaZe Clan. My God. Back to Trevor Penning. Spin zone. Does this just mean he has that dog?
Maybe that's what I mean. Maybe he's trying to show that he's again not afraid to back down from anybody. But I feel like there's better ways and there's more productive ways to do that than pissing off your teammates.
Little mental
straight days of camp.
People will line up and be like, all right, I can get in this kid's head in the regular season. He just locks it down and doesn't get any of that shit.
Maybe
he draws penalties. I don't know. Maybe this kid's just a mastermind. Maybe Northern Iowa just breeds them like that.
Yeah, that's part of their program. Just piss people off and get penalties drawn for you. I don't know.
Those goddamn Iowans. That's what they're known for.
Nope.
Other NFL news, segueing into your moment of the week. I mean,
something we haven't talked a ton about, but yeah, I mean, this is just prime NFL not knowing and I don't understand. I'm completely lost now with this Deshaun Watson stuff because I don't know if you saw the reports earlier today that the NFL is going to do their own investigation or something and try to I saw multiple reports here that they're trying to get Deshaun Watson, quote unquote, what was it, suspended indefinitely, but they want to suspend him a year. So those two things right there, I feel like contradict each other, because indefinitely would mean there is no timetable for his return, if I'm mistaken. And then a year is set in stone, a full NFL season, you're getting suspended. So you pick one, you can't have both. But yeah, the thing Monday, Deshaun Watson will be suspended 6 games for what Judge Sue Robinson deemed, quote unquote, violating the NFL's personal conduct policy, of course, following his sexual misconduct allegations. There were a lot of things wrong with this. Deshaun Watson's not going to be fined. He'll lose about $333,000 of his $230 million deal due to how Cleveland has structured his contract. None of his $45 million signing bonus will be touched, so he gets all of that. This is from Ian Rappaport. Said, quote, under Deshaun Watson's previous contract, he would have lost $11.67 million from a 6-game suspension. Now it's $345K based on the base salary as part of the new Browns deal. The ruling itself was ridiculous from the wording of it. This is from Tom Pelisseri. He said, quote, Judge Sue L. Robinson's decision says Deshaun Watson's, quote, pattern of behavior was egregious, but notes that behavior was, quote, nonviolent sexual contact, and explaining the decision to suspend him 6 games per source. And to that, I feel like you probably share the same thought. I think you said a lot of people, I think, share the same thought of, what I don't understand why we're bringing up if he was violent while committing these. I feel like the whole thing is it's sexual assault. It's violent. I feel like regardless, there is no, okay, well, he was more violent here with this person than that person. So let's weigh those two things together. The whole thing is just a giant shit show. Everyone, like you said, has kind of thought the same thing. And then the 6-game suspension, it's so dumb. This is from NFL reporter Judy Batista, said, quote, 6 games is much lighter than the league wanted for Watson. Goodell does have the final say on an appeal under the CBA. NFL has a long, difficult history of cases involving players. Players' behavior with women. Can't imagine the blowback the NFL would get if the league does not increase it. And then this was from Tristan, I think it's Kuhn or Tristan Kunn of the Right Way Sport Network, had a good breakdown of, the recent NFL suspensions. Obviously the big one, if I'm Calvin Ridley, I'm getting on the phone with the NFL right now and being like, what the fuck? I was not on the Falcons technically, and I placed a couple bets here and there. And I get a full 17-game season, and there's maybe talk of him not being in the NFL or coming back to the NFL. Vontaze Burfict, we know what he is. He gets 12 games for targeting in the past. DeAndre Hopkins gets 6 for PEDs. Martavis Bryant is suspended indefinitely for weed. Now you get to the weed punishments, which are ridiculous. Josh Gordon has gotten 25 plus games for weed. We've obviously dealt with him being with the Patriots and all that stuff. Darren Waller got 16 games for substance abuse, and now Deshaun Watson 6 games for 25 plus sexual violence accusations pending appeal. Absolutely ridiculous. It just again shows that the NFL, and now with the Dolphin stuff that you're going to get to in a second, I'm assuming, just continues to show that the punishment, I don't even know how to word it, system, I guess, is just so ridiculous, and the NFL just doesn't know what they're doing. And that's the thing. You have all these things come out over the years with all the suspensions, and it's just, we're not even going to get into obviously the Roethlisberger stuff from way back and his suspension, and Zeke Elliott for his stuff. And it just continues to go on, and they continue to mess these things up. And now, like I said, with what's come out today about them wanting a longer suspension, it's clear cut. They're listening to the blowback of what happened, and everyone's pissed off, and now they're trying to right a wrong that should have never had to come to in the beginning. You should have been able to hit this on the head, I feel pretty easily. Suspend him the full season, lay the hammer down on the guy, and they just, again, could not do that. It's just idiotic.
Yeah, there's just no consistency, and it's
nope.
Stupidly unsurprising because it's just what we've been
so used to. Yep.
It's just fucked up. The unevenness, it's just so brutal. And I don't know. It's just when you have 25 accusations as well, that just complicates so many things because that's just such an obscene number.
Yep.
This whole situation is a mess, and of course it got screwed up. So nothing where it's one of those situations you're shocked about it, but you're really not. You're
not. It's I expected that, but I was really this time hoping that they get it right because of how, again, to use the judge's quote and how egregious the behavior was. But then again, that, I have a bigger problem with that too. You're, again, weighing him acting like an idiot and an asshole compared to, maybe if he was a violent idiot and asshole, then maybe he would have gotten more. That shouldn't even be the thing. He was a dickhead. He fucked up. This is, again, should be clear cut and pretty dry in how to do this. And they just continue to step over their own 2 feet and can't get out of their own way. The typical cliche sayings, like it's idiotic. And then now you have the Dolphins and tampering and all that crap that I still am trying to figure out what the hell happened. Like obviously that came out yesterday. Well, I was trying to do the trade deadline stuff, so I'm not as probably up to speed with it as you are. So that's something I feel like you can probably touch on and give your thoughts on maybe better than I can.
Yeah, I mean, there were Brady and Dolphins reports for a little while now, and they were unfounded for a while. They a lot of information going against one another from wherever sources you were seeing it from. But now we have the supposed truth. Tom Brady was talking with the Dolphins his whole final season with the Patriots.
Kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Look, man, I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, oh, I fucking hate Brady now. I don't hate Tom Brady.
I don't really care, to be honest. Like, I don't know if that's a weird stance to take. When I saw it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, he was kind of, everyone assumed for the most part with what obviously came out after the fact about the Patriots lowballing him with contracts and stuff and him not being happy. You're like, all right, he's going to be gone. Like, I was still holding out hope at the time that, like, oh, Brady's not leaving. His last throw with the Patriot was an interception. He's not going to leave. But everything after everything came out, you're like, all right, it makes sense why he wanted to get out of here. And like, if this is piled on top of it, again, I'm like, I don't know if I should be madder that, like, I feel like I should be madder than I am, but it's just not that concern. Obviously, it's a bad look for the NFL again and the Dolphins. And again, Brady's image is going to take a hit now with this. And just add that on with the fake retirement crap too. He's having a just terrific offseason. But I don't know. It's the story's weird to me because I feel like I should care more than I do. And I don't for some reason.
Yeah. It's just like, I just think it's more so weird that I'm trying to like put it together because I don't really care either. Like,
figure out it's like I need to figure out what I want to be mad about with this. And like the only thing I can come back to is, again, the punishment of the Dolphins to me seems a little too light. Like, you lose a couple draft picks, you get fined a couple $1 million, which is just like a quick flick of the wallet for their owner. Like, their owner's suspended, but like I was talking to my dad about the other day, it's like, does that really matter? Because like he has guys obviously under him that does the operations and stuff. So I feel like it's not like he's losing too much there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the fact that Stephen Ross is a bad guy with all the
exactly
Flores stuff, and now this, and now he's like vehemently denying shit, like saying, "Oh, this is bullshit." Like,
I heard they're still throwing Flores under the bus, which is insane that you still want to do that. Like,
I just like from the surface when I first saw it, though, I was like, "Wow, I can't believe he actually talked to them the whole season." Like.
If it was a one-off thing, that would
be smarter.
Yep.
Like, it's just crazy. Then you have the whole thing with like him becoming like a player owner or something at some point that was reported. Like Sean Payton.
I was gonna say Sean Payton getting the call. Yep.
Like, yeah, but Dolphins lose their 2023 first, 2024 third as a result. I mean, yeah. I mean. Brady had the idea of getting out of here the whole year.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. It's interesting, but it's like not one of those things I'm like super bummed about or super pissed at him about. It's just kind of like, oh, it happened. Like, kind of crazy that this happened because it's uncommon to blow up like this. But I just like anyone overreacting this. I really don't get it.
I'm in the same boat you are. I've seen, again, people are like, oh, fuck Brady, like he's horrible. Like, again, it's like, you can hate the guy if you want, but like, let's not go too far to like kill the guy. I did see one, and again, maybe it's how dumb the Dolphins and I keep wanting to say Steve Ross, right? You said
Stephen Ross.
Yeah. I keep wanting to say Scott Ross for some reason. But it's just Zolak and Bertrand and Hardy were talking about this today, I think it was. It kind of shows how dumb he is that, like, usually when people tamper with something, like the NBA, I think the Knicks are getting investigated right now for tampering because of them signing Jalen Brunson. But, like, they tampered and signed Jalen Brunson. The fact that you tried tampering with Brady and Sean Payton and you couldn't get either one of them, like, isn't the whole point of tampering, if you're going to do it, to try to get out in front of everybody and get the guy you want? The fact that you couldn't get either guy when you tamper, like, you get what I'm getting at? Like, how stupid that is. And how much of a failure that is, and now you get caught doing it, looks even worse. So again, it's another situation. It's just like, it's so ridiculously insane that like, you really don't know what, like we said, we're struggling to figure out how we really feel about it just because of how weird of a situation it is.
Yeah, and to add to it, this from Adam Schefter, the NFL also said the Dolphins had impermissible communications with both Brady and his agent after the 2021 season while he was under contract with Tampa Bay. Those discussions focused on Brady became a limited partner in the Dolphins. So, yeah, I don't know how Stephen Ross expects to weasel his way out of this, but like, he's the
There's
one
no
who's
way you
bullshitting.
can. Yep.
There's no way this guy is like scot-free here. There's
no chance.
Absolutely no way. But it's a wild story. It's certainly a wild story.
It'll be one to monitor, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it'll give the Sports Hub team something to talk about for the next 6 years. So
Everyone, same thing. Everyone can harp on Brady and
lately.
find another reason to crap on Tom Brady. Again, stupid decision in his part. Maybe, again, depending on how you look at it, but like, again, it's something that I'm like not overly all that upset about. Like, yeah, it's kind of a skeevy scumbag move, but like, again, the guy had one foot out the door, maybe both feet out the door, depending on how you looked at it. Like, he wanted out. He saw a chance maybe with the Dolphins. Obviously, things didn't work out there, but he's still, doing things well, and is still the best quarterback to ever do it. So again, I'm not gonna crap on him too much.
Yeah, you can't take away those championships. So
nope.
Yeah, no. I hope he wins another one this year. Honestly, that would just be funny.
So sweet. And again, more stuff that people want to shit on Brady for, and he comes out and just dominates the league again. Is that your house? Somebody just broke glass, it sounded like, or is that mine? Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear anything.
That must have been my house. I sound like glass shattered outside my room. That's not good. Who's breaking things?
But yeah, we'll see how this progresses, I guess, because I feel like there's still a lot to figure out. So what is next?
All the MLB trade deadline stuff. Seeing that we kind of wrapped the Celtic stuff with the Vin Scully stuff, rightfully so. Obviously, it's probably something to start the show off with. What did I say?
You said Vin Scully, but yeah, same thing. Both,
with
like Vin Scully and Bill Russell. Yeah, we talked about that at the start. So it gets us into Red Sox plus MLB trade deadline recap and thoughts, because
it was a wild one.
The biggest trade ever happened. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with the Red Sox stuff, because again, like we obviously, if you listen to the shows the last couple of weeks, you knew what the two of us wanted the Red Sox to do, and the Red Sox decided to go which again, I can't wrap my head around the buy and sell route. I guess it worked out well. I mean, they were able to get a first baseman. I'll get to that in a second, that they've needed for 3 months, but maybe a little too late there. We'll start with the first move they made. Obviously, the head scratching one. Christian Vasquez goes to the Houston Astros. Red Sox get 2 minor league prospects, Emmanuel Valdez and Wilyer Abreu. This is from Ian Kundle of Sox Prospects. It's a quote: "Here's a summary of what I'm hearing from scouts on Emmanuel Valdez and Wilyer Abreu. For a 2-month rental, that is about the best you can hope for." Of course, that rental being Vasquez. Valdez is a bat-first guy with no defensive home, meaning he's a utility guy, could hit his way to the majors. Abreu was a nice flyer. He did. Second at bat with Worcester. He got option there, hit a home run, so that's good to see. The other kid, Abreu, is a nice flyer, toolsy but raw, like likely a corner outfielder. There was some conflicting reports, too, on where these guys were in the Astros organization. I saw, and Tyler Milliken had it. He said, quote, "Red Sox land number 12 prospect from Baseball America, Emmanuel Valdez. He is /327 batting average, 410. I think it's OBP, 606 slugging, and a 1.016 OPS between AA and AAA this season. 21 homers, now 22, of course, like you just said, and 82 games. Big exit velo guy. And Astros number 21 prospect outfielder Wilyer Abreu as a second prospect going to the Red Sox. He plays all 3 outfield spots. Hit 249 in 59 games at AA, 15 homers, and 23 or 24 stolen bases in his age 23 season. I don't hate the return because, like I said, there's conflicting reports that they got the 12 and the 21 prospects. Then there was, I think Bob Nightingale had that they got the 28 and 29 prospects in Houston's organization. I think there were more 12 and 21s, though, so we'll go with that number. Again, like Ian Kundle said, you might lose Vasquez in the offseason, trade him now for nothing. Trade him now and get something for him rather than lose him for nothing in the offseason. But to me, like, it's just trading your starting catcher when your backup options is Kevin Plawecki and Connor Wong, who we don't really know about, and Ronaldo
and
Hernandez,
who they had
for
like 12 hours.
Exactly, for half a day, and then got sent back
I was
down
because of Ronaldo, yay, let's
Yeah.
go. And I was like, oh wait, they have a pervert now.
They got we'll get to that guy in a second. But yeah, I mean, and then just the way it happened too. I don't know if you were keeping an eye on it, but him going out and again, people who were defending it were like, well, Alex Cora told me to go out and take batting practice, which to some extent I'm fine with. But if you know Vasquez is on the trade block and there's talks of potentially trading him, like you think you would have a better sense of like, all right, the guy can go out and take BP, but he probably shouldn't be out on the field after that. Like I get he wants to say goodbye to teammates and stuff. But the whole ordeal of him, taking the interview and then getting pulled aside by a PR team, basically to say like, hey, you can't answer questions for the Red Sox anymore because you don't play for the Red Sox. And like the whole situation was weird. And then there was the reports, obviously, Felger and Maz were talking about this the other day, that Chaim Bloom wasn't even down there when he made the trade. So they were kind of getting relayed back. I think Chaim Bloom was back in Boston, he said, when he addressed the media that night. So he wasn't even there to like tell Vasquez he was getting traded, and they had no representatives in Houston to say that. So like, that's a great look too. The whole situation of trading him was just weird. I get why they had to do it. And Vasquez himself, I think in his interview said, he opened the door to re-sign with the Red Sox in the offseason, but just the whole way of, I think you'll see it probably, like I said, with Bogarts, an Aroldis Chapman type thing where you get some prospects for him and he re-signs. Because again, the Red Sox don't have a plan at catcher if, you don't re-sign Vasquez. But again, like I said, you trade the starting catcher away. To me, that waves the white flag that like you're trading a heart and soul guy away. And it clearly affected the team that night. Obviously they won the game, but a lot of guys seemed down. But then they go out and they add some pieces. So the whole thing didn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know if you're in the same boat. I know I've been talking for a while. I'll let you kind of take the reins.
My God, dude, like Chaim Bloom made 3 trades in like 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of throwing things and hoping this guy's going that way.
I did not know Vasquez has been here since 2008 until I was reminded once they traded him. That's crazy. Then you get a guy who's arrested for public masturbation, and you get Tommy
Reese McGuire
sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, the big thing
needs enforcers. Baseball needs enforcers. So we get Tommy Pham, and we get a enforcer and a pervert.
That's what I was talking about that with my dad too. I'm like, we've talked about how bad of a look the Red Sox have had this season, whether it's the ownership not really looking like they care, or the whole, again, not going to go into it a lot, but the vaccination stuff that we've talked about before, that's not a great look for the team, having players, like Houck and Duran missing important games. Then you have this, like I said, you trade away a guy like Vasquez, who's, again, heart and soul, been here, like you said, forever. A lot of guys love him. Obviously, Bogarts, Devers, your cornerstone players. And then the 2 moves you make after that is for a guy, like you said, gets arrested in 2020 for, having it out in a parking lot. Reese McGuire, like I have in the outline, great rip it guy. Because, again, don't Google Reese McGuire if you don't know who he is. And then you get Tommy Pham, who was suspended at the beginning of the season for punching a guy out over fantasy football rules. Like, you go from trading away a guy that is thought of so highly in the organization to these 2 moves with 2 guys that have had Tommy Pham, maybe not a major problem, but Reese McGuire, a major problem. Like, he had to have the police called on him for, wanking it in public. Like, I just don't get where the mindset's at. McGuire's a guy that, again, great defensive guy, but my buddy at work basically called him Kevin Plawecki Jr. because he can't hit the broadside of a barn. Granted, today he ended up breaking up a no-hitter, so I'll give him credit there, I guess. The McGuire move, it makes a little bit of sense. It's from Christopher Smith of Mass Live. He said the White Sox are paying the remainder of Jake Diekman's 2-year, $8 million contract per source. So this is a good trade for the Red Sox simply for that reason. It allows them to take $4 million off the books next year. And again, McGuire's under contract until 2025. So there's the reason the Red Sox traded for him, is you have a cheap guy that they can control. And then the Pham thing, we talked about it during the offseason when we were trying to figure out, what could make sense for the Red Sox. They need an outfield bat. They need primarily a right-handed bat. And I think it was you at the time that said, well, Tommy Pham's still out there. He's a guy maybe you bring in, you can platoon. So good on you for having this move 6 months in advance.
Yeah,
I'll give you credit there.
Me when they,
I know, right? On Twitter
for him.
Yep.
I was waiting for it.
But like this move, again, you needed a right-handed outfield bat at the start of this, before the season even started, to platoon with Bradley. You get him on the deadline day when there's a month and a half left of the season. And then the Eric Hosmer deal, which you gave away Jay Groom in. Again, I think you kind of look at it as maybe the Hunter Renfroe trade where you're buying some prospects because the Red Sox got prospects back as well in the Hosmer deal. But we're sitting here on August 2nd, again, a month and a half left of the season, and you now go out and acquire your first baseman after watching Bobby Dahlbeck and Franchi Cordero suck at the position for 3 or 4 months.
Too
Like,
long.
that's what I mean. It doesn't like.
This team fucking sucks, man. Like, oh, you're frozen. There's the once a week freeze.
Froze on my screen. I can hear you.
Yeah,
though. Oh, we're good now.
The once a week freeze. I don't know.
Yeah,
why
it happens.
like once randomly.
I love how my internet connection is unstable. Message comes up after the fact too. It's like, no shit.
Oh yeah.
Just happened.
I mean,
but the whole thing is
this
just so
shit
confusing.
sucks.
Like, I just don't get it. And then like the used car salesman crap that Bloom spits out, like it was obviously before these other deals are made, or the Hosmer deal was made, where he talks about Christian Vasquez, you trade him away, but I still see this team as a playoff team. Then like I keep harping on it. Then why do you trade your starting catcher away? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't hate the Hosmer deal. I don't hate getting stuff back for Vasquez, but it seems like every analyst watching the trade deadline coverage for different, MLB Network and stuff kind of had the same thought of like, what the hell are the Red Sox doing? Like, basically pick a lane.
They were laughing at the Red Sox.
Oh, that was the thing when because obviously if you followed it, we'll get to the big deal in a second of the Juan Soto stuff. But Eric Hosmer was originally part of that deal, and then he says, I don't want to go to Washington, rightfully so. And doesn't waive his no trade clause. So you're kind of waiting to see where he ends up. The Red Sox end up taking him on. And you're like, all right, that's a massive contract that the Red Sox don't really need. So they're probably just, not going to have to give up a ton to get him. They give up Jay Groom. And when they announced it on MLB Network, I think it was Harold Reynolds was like, they actually got something back for Eric Hosmer. Like, they were like stunned that they gave up a decent prospect. And Jay Groom hasn't panned out, a ton with the Red Sox since he got drafted. But he was a guy that was making strides, maybe a guy that you could see as a bullpen piece next year or something.
Tommy John doesn't help.
Yeah, Tommy John kind of derailed his minor league progress.
Yeah, the thing that, like, you didn't trade Bogarts, who has an opt-out after this year, which I don't really get. I think they absolutely should have traded Bogarts. Like, I don't know why Bogarts would want to stay besides, being a leader and,
besides Devers still being here for a year until they get rid of him.
Like, if you want to keep Bogarts, you better bring Vasquez back, because Bogarts was not happy. Like,
no, that's what I mean.
He really was. Like,
no, he was the king of not being happy. But
there are rumors going around and reports about this team that nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
Nope.
And that is completely self-inflicted.
Well, I think it was Vasquez that they asked him about, like, do you trust Chaim Bloom? Maybe this is why Vasquez got traded. But they asked him, like, do you trust Chaim to make the right decisions? I think he was basically like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like you said,
it came up to him and before the PR team took him, he's like, it's a business. Like, he's just kind of like,
well, that's what I mean too. The no communication. Like, if you go back and watch that interview, I don't know who asked the question, but they were like, how's it feel? Or what are your thoughts on getting traded to Houston? And he kind of looked at the guy like, what are you talking about? And then, like you said, was like, oh, I guess it's a business type of thing. And that's obviously when he got pulled off. It's like just the lack of communication. I think you said it last week. You've said it a couple of times. Where, like, you trust Chaim Bloom to make the right moves, or like to be smart and not do anything stupid. Do you still trust Chaim Bloom to?
No, I
didn't. Yeah,
I don't know. I said that. I said I.
Well, no, you trade. I think it was something along.
From a practical standpoint, I had the hope that he would.
Okay.
But
now, as we sit here today,
yeah,
has your thoughts changed?
Like, I had the hope, but I just didn't have the drive. Like, yes, he's gonna do the right thing. Because of all the comments leading up, they wanted to contend. They had this hybrid mindset of buying and selling. Like, that is stupid. Like
I said to you before, I just don't know how you go into the locker room and say, like, and if they didn't obviously trade Martinez or anything like that. But like I said at the time, like, God forbid you move him. How do you go into a locker room and face a guy like Bogarts and Devers and say, like, hey, we're still going to compete, but we just traded our starting DH and our starting catcher. So, go have fun with that.
It's just, I don't know how, if you're Chaim Bloom, you can be like, oh, I want to keep JD Martinez. Obviously he's like, oh, like, he'll be like, oh, JD can help us make the postseason. But, like, now you're going to lose him for nothing. Because, like, how if you're Chaim Bloom, can you be like, oh, yeah, I can re-sign JD Martinez. He'll want to come back to this shit. Fuck no, he won't.
The only thing I can think of is maybe JD. He clearly in his interview seemed relieved that he's still here. So maybe you got some goodwill left there. But I don't know. Like, it's just, all the stuff leading up to it and all the talk of like JD's probably going to go and, Eovaldi will probably be on the market. And there were reports that they were shopping him. I think it's Dave Vassage from Sportsnet LA said, quote, the Dodgers pursued Red Sox pending free agent JD Martinez up to the deadline, but a deal obviously couldn't be made. This was from Jason Stark of The Athletic. Said sources say the Phillies talked to the Red Sox about Nathan Eovaldi and Rich Hill. Rob Bradford had, quote, Twins, Cardinals, and Phillies all showing interest in Rich Hill. And he also had, per sources, 4 to 5 teams had heavy interest in Eovaldi, but the asking price was the moon, which I kind of get.
Stupid.
But
this is what another thing I was worried about of I wanting
overhyping
too much
guys.
money for too much money, too many pieces for Eovaldi and Martinez because he's like, oh yeah, we'll trade these guys in the right deal, but he'll be like, oh yeah, like we decided it was best to keep Nate and fucking JD around so we can try and make the playoffs and get absolutely shit pants in the fucking first round.
Shit kicked in. Yep.
Like it's so maddening to see a team that just doesn't know what to do direction wise. And this guy, ever since he's come here, obviously he's got a lot of criticism since, recently. As this like wunderkind, like super smart guy, gonna turn things around. He's stocked the prospect pool pretty good. I give him credit for that.
Yeah, you can't crap on him for that. He's done his he's done his job there.
Sucks at some aspects of his job, and one of them is clearly figuring out the identity of his team and keeping his players happy. So
that's what I mean. You kind of move
poor Alex Cora, dude. Like poor Alex Cora, honestly.
Oh, it was a nightmare leading up to this. I think he again was another that was the big thing. A lot of these guys were relieved. Like that should never, I feel like, be the case. Like that's what I mean. There was so much uncertainty with you going to the trade deadline. You should know what you're going to do. And I was going to say the thing that stinks about this, and obviously being a Red Sox fan, I'm not going to hate that they have a chance to get into the playoffs. I talked about this earlier in the year. They're probably going to get in because the rest of the American League is such crap. They're probably going to give in because Baltimore punted on their season. Like they traded away 2 of their better players in Mancini and Jorge Lopez. Mancini
who hit home run against
exactly. Yep. Mancini who was the reason because if he hits that, I know it was 4-1 that home run made it, but I was going to say he was one of the main reasons they won that game today. But they were 2 games out of a wild card and said, nope, we're not going to go for it. We're trading 2 of our, better players who have been excellent this season away. The Red Sox catch a break there. Now you're definitely going to catch Baltimore because Baltimore season is over. But just the whole thing, again, I don't hate the Eric Hosmer trade, but again, it just feels to me like the typical Heimblum, a guy falling into his lap. Like the reason you got Eric Hosmer is because Juan Soto plays for the Washington Nationals or played for the Nationals. Like if that was a legitimate team he was going to, Eric Hosmer probably wouldn't have waived his no trade or probably would have waived his no trade clause to go there.
You know why they got Eric Hosmer? I think that nobody's talking about because
why is that?
Probably would have got Dom Smith if they traded Martinez to the Mets. But they didn't because they probably wanted too much for Martinez or Vasquez. I don't know how much Vasquez was involved in things at the finish line. Leading up to, days ahead of when he was traded to Houston or the day of. So they're like, oh, yeah, Hosmer's just going to drop into our lap. I saw so many people when Hosmer was opting out, it's like, oh, yeah, this is it. They're going to trade for Hosmer. Watch. And all of them were right. Because it just, like you said,
it's a move that makes.
And thank God that the Padres are paying a huge chunk of his remaining money.
Yep, that's the one thing I can swallow with this trade.
It's such a stupid move from the standpoint of oh yeah, it's Eric Hosmer. He dropped into our lap. But at least the one thing I do like about it is when you have Tristan Casas in the mix, him and Eric Hosmer are close, and it kind of gives Casas a mentor. Hopefully, if Hosmer and Casas there next year.
Yep.
But it's just one of those things. Heimblum's like, oh, I'm heading to the bargain bin. Like, I'm going to go buy prospects and get Eric Hosmer because he doesn't want to go to Washington. Rightfully so.
Yep. Again, it's like I said, it's buying prospects too. You get there again. San Diego did a ton of prospect flipping when it came to their deadline. Who was ranked where, so they get their number 11 and number 26, Max Ferguson, who's a second baseman because they love their middle infield prospects. And Corey, I think it's Rosier, an outfielder. So nothing too crazy. The big thing for me, those are some Red Sox stats, of course. I think I sent this to you, just typical Red Sox in this sense. Said, quote, Ferguson and Rosier are both extremely fast, but none of these prospects are seeming anything to write home about. Sox add Hosmer for a small amount of money. He's like best possible outcome. It says Shaw 4 months. Oh, Travis Shaw 4 months later. Like again, like yes, they need a first baseman. That's clear and apparent. But this move, the same move with Tommy Pham, it's 3.5 months too late. Like you could have, again, first base could have just brought Schwarber back. I said at the time, maybe you bring Mitch Moreland back as just a small piece in the offseason, just so you have a legitimate first baseman that can platoon with Dahlbeck. Now you get Hosmer, now you get Pham. It's like you could have definitely got Tommy Pham 4 months ago, like when we talked about it, and you said that they should do it. And now that you're getting him, like with all this again, the baggage that comes with it, like don't add him to your fantasy football league.
Yeah, ever since then he has sucked, which was one of our concerns, and he slapped Jock Peterson in the face. So what a shiny resume.
Don't add him to your fantasy football team. Don't let Reese McGuire alone, like at the back parking lot of Fenway Park or the nearest, convenience store, whatever's around the corner. Like keep all eyes on him. Just an incredibly confusing deadline. And I've seen some people say they got better. They didn't give up a ton to get these guys, which yes, it's true. You get rid of Diekman, which was a salary dump, which you don't hate because Diekman's been one of the worst relievers in baseball. That was something I'll give Chaim Bloom credit for is, he admitted to a failure there. Like I was high on Diekman coming here and that deal did not work in the slightest. So good thing they got rid of him and, freed up some money. Pham, you give up a player to be named later or cash considerations. We know players to be named later never really pan out unless it's David Ortiz. That's the one exception. And then again, the Groom thing kind of stings, but like you said, a guy that has kind of fallen on, I guess, hard times, the Tommy John surgery a couple of years ago, like I said, derailed his track to the majors, never really figured it out. So you can kind of live with getting rid of him, I guess. But I don't know. I'm just, you and I were both on the same page of if you're going to sell. And Vasquez to me seemed like you're waving the white flag and selling, and then you go and add, and you're kind of sitting here again today going, well, does this team have enough to get to the playoffs with what they have? Can you count on some guys that really haven't performed yet? I think they're, again, still leaning too much in on maybe Chris Hill will come back this year. Maybe we'll get Kike Hernandez back and he'll turn into the guy that he was in the playoffs.
And watch,
can't count on that.
James Paxton becomes ready, they'll be
he's another one. Yep.
James, this will be like their.
Oh, he threw a simulated game, I think, today. So,
yeah. I'm done with Chaim Bloom. I'm putting it out there now. I'm already done. Look, I'll
give him the off season.
I like a guy that can stock the prospect pool, but if you're pissing off players and you can't figure out your identity and it doesn't work, which I don't think it will, get out. And I'm ready to say the Padres are going to win the World Series. So
I think they got a very good case.
That's happening. That is happening. I'm not going to drop the L word yet because we haven't seen how it plays out on the field yet, but the Padres are going to win the World Series.
Just think if the Dodgers didn't have like a 13-game lead in that division and things were closer, you bring in Juan Soto, Josh Bell, and Josh Hader. Like that should make that a very close division race. But the fact that the Dodgers have just dominated the entire season, like the Padres are going to probably get in. They're going to get a wild card spot, but like it would have been nice if they were a couple games closer to see those moves really. And I don't know, really make a difference because they're going to make a difference. It's not like they're going to go there and stink. But just, to make it more interesting and maybe put some more pressure on the Dodgers. I was surprised LA didn't really do anything other than add Joey Gallo, which is not a huge gamble, again, because the Dodgers, they're so stacked when it comes to talent, but that was an interesting move. Just some other, I'm not going to run through every trade. I'll give my thoughts on some big winners and losers of the deadline, kind of allude to that TikTok I did last year. We'll do the 2.0 version this year. So winners, like you said, I had the Padres as well. Obviously, you get Juan Soto, you get Josh Bell, who I didn't think were going to be packaged together. You heard a lot of Juan Soto and Patrick Corbin was the kind of package that a lot of people thought might be the case. The Nationals wanted him to be taken off their books.
Yeah, that guy's brutal.
He's horrible. Yep, he is terrible, and that's why nobody traded for him, and rightfully so. But yeah, the Padres, they get Juan Soto, they get Josh Bell. Josh Hader was an interesting move. It'd be very interesting to see how Milwaukee handles that because Devin Williams, if you listened to his interview the other day, was not happy that Josh Hader was traded. Kind of the same thing that you saw last year with the Mariners when they traded Kendall Graveman to Houston. I don't want to say they fell apart, but they kind of took a dip after that. So we'll see if Milwaukee can bounce back from that. Brandon Drury to San Diego is an interesting one as well. They get a great utility player who is having a really good season for the Reds. And they gave up a ton, but nothing off their major league roster too substantial. The Padres give up Taylor Rogers, Dinelson Lamet, who was DFA'd, and I saw some people already say that the Red Sox should take a chance on him. Again, Typical
There's
Heimblum.
times-
Yeah.
There's this guy.
Bargain bin flyer type move. Luke Voigt is the major league piece going back to the Nationals. They finally figured out which first baseman they wanted to give up between him, Hosmer, and Will Myers. And then the prospects, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, Robert Hassel, the third, who was their number 1 prospect, James Wood, who was their number 3, Victor Acosta, the number 6, Robert Glasser, their 7, and Jarlin Susana, their number 15. So they give up a ton of prospect depth. That's their GM. AJ Preller is not afraid to will and deal. So if you're going to get, players of that caliber, you're going to be in good shape. Number 2 winner was the Yankees. Kills me to say that, but they had a great trade deadline. Obviously, they get Benintendi before it. They get Montas. They get Trevino. That helps the rotation in their bullpen. Scott Efros, who was a rookie for the Cubs. I was surprised they gave him up, but he's a good piece for them. And then the more surprising one of the day was Harrison Bader. The Yankees, Aaron Hicks has been a good center fielder for him, or decent center fielder this season, had a good bounce back year. But Bader was surprising, good speed guy, good outfielder, helps them defensively. They give up Jordan Montgomery and a ton of prospects. They're 5, 7, 10, 12, 20, 21, 22, and 30. So do we want to crap on the Yankees when it comes to, you didn't give up any of your top 4 prospects for guys like Montas and Trevino and Benintendi, or do we want to give the Yankees credit for the moves they've made? Because I saw some people do that. It's like, oh, typical Yankees. They don't give up any of their top 4. Dominguez stays. Peraza stays. Their other middle infielder, I can't think of the name right now of them. But yeah, didn't give up their top. No, that's Peraza. There's one other one I can't think of right now. He's a shortstop too, though.
Oh, I thought you were looking. I totally had a brain fart. I thought you were looking for Peraza's first name for some reason.
No, but like I said, do you want to crap on the Yankees too much for not giving up their top prospects? So I think they gave up a decent amount here to get some pretty solid pieces. Benintendi, I think, as I saw on Twitter, 1 for 20 since joining them. So that's not a great thing. Maybe Joey Gallo gave him whatever disease he had when it came to, not being able to play for that team, but still a good get for them.
Yeah, I mean, they got an asset for Joey Gallo, which is crazy. I mean, poor Joey Gallo, to the stuff that came out about him, he was like afraid to show his face. Maybe he is at least somewhat good in LA in a different environment on another contender. So we'll see.
Not a ton of pressure for him out there, so that might help him.
Scott Efros seems pretty good. Benintendi, yeah, he's like 1 for 17 so far. I saw maybe that's changed since because they played today. I mean, Montas, I think I'm glad to see is someone that doesn't like the Yankees that they had to give up Waldichuk because Waldichuk seems ridiculous.
Yep.
So that's a bonus to see the Yankees have to give him up. Hopefully, sorry, we're doing some shit in the kitchen here. Yeah, hopefully he pans out and turns into like a Cy Young winner and shit. So the Yankees can eat shit on that. But yeah, I mean, they made some good moves, but when you're talking about World Series contention and you're running into the Padres, I think the Padres will mop the Yankees. So
that's what
mop. Like I'm over exaggerating a mop a little bit, but like I don't think they'll have a super tough time with the Yankees.
No, I think I said at the deadline, the winner of the World Series is coming out of the National League this year between the Dodgers, the Padres, obviously not retooling, but obviously it seems like going all in, and rightfully so when you make these moves. The Braves didn't do a ton of the deadline, but still have great pieces. And then the Mets, maybe not making the biggest splashes. Obviously, a little surprised they didn't go after a guy like Martinez. But when they got Darren Ruff, I'm like, that's it. They're not getting Martinez. The Red Sox aren't making a trade with them because they have their DH. They obviously get DeGrom back last night. That's a huge help for them. Him and Scherzer going 1-2, so they're kind of banking on the Jacob DeGrom is going to be our trade deadline acquisition approach. They did get a couple bullpen pieces. I think though, I'm trying to remember who they got. Michael Givens from the Cubs, and then I thought they got one more bullpen piece, but maybe not. But did some minor moves there. Some other winners I had, the Minnesota Twins, I thought had a good deadline. Obviously, they get Jorge Lopez from Baltimore, helps them get a solid closer. They were the ones that ended up with Tyler Mahle, the other of the Reds that gets traded. That helps solidify the rotation. Michael Fulmer is a decent, work in progress piece. Has had an up and down career with the Tigers. So maybe he works out there. And then Sandy Leon. I forgot Sandy Leon was even in the majors. He got traded as well, I think, from Cleveland. So that's a good, solid veteran World Series winning backup catcher that, if you get to the playoffs, maybe can show some guys, give some advice. Exactly. Good clubhouse guy. They didn't give up a ton to get any of those guys. I think they gave up their 7, 18, and 23 prospects, and that was it. They did give up Ian Hamilton, who's a guy that's pitched in the majors before, I think. So, a major league piece there goes back to Cleveland. But the Twins had a good deadline. Houston had a good deadline as well. They get 3 legitimate needs. Needed a backup catcher, got Christian Vasquez, as we know. Needed a first baseman, thought they were going to get Josh Bell. They ended up getting Trey Mancini, who, like you said, worked out well today with a home run. And then Will Smith, I think, closed the game out too. They get him. Kind of an interesting trade there with the Braves. The Braves give up Will Smith. The Astros give up Jake Odorizzi in a 1-for-1 swap. But the Astros needed bullpen help. The Braves needed rotation help. So that deal works out well there. 3 really good gets for Houston. Any thoughts on, or any more thoughts on the Vasquez thing, or, getting Mancini or Smith, or what that kind of means for them?
Yeah, I think they just made good, smart moves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's really all it is. They didn't do like a ton over the top, but just some good moves to improve their bottom line a little bit and strengthen without giving up too much. I mean, it's a good team, so you don't have to give up a ton if you
no, you got to add 1 or 2
lateral moves.
1 or 2 pieces. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the Twins, it's funny. Like, it's funny seeing Michael Fulmer move, because I always think of, whenever I see that name, when he was coming up, I was like, this kid is going to win Cy Young. Like,
yeah, he was supposed to be filthy.
The hype on him was unbelievable. But yeah, now he hasn't really panned out, it seems. So
nope. He's another guy that's been hit with injuries and kind of, I mean, pitching for the Tigers isn't a huge thing either. Like, that's not going to help your career much. The winners I had, the 5th and final one, the Phillies, kind of similar to the Astros. They had 3 pretty legitimate needs. They filled them all pretty nicely. They get, in a surprising deal with the Angels, they get Brandon Marsh, who can play center field for them. A huge defensive upgrade there. They get David Robertson, of course, who was linked to the Red Sox, and people thought that they should have went out and got him. He is the one Cub. I'll get to the Cubs in a second. The one Cub, or one of the main Cubs that's traded. And then they get Noah Syndergaard as well to help out that rotation. That's a pretty big get for them. Didn't give up a ton in those deals either. Mickey Moniak's a prospect that hasn't really panned out at the major league level. They get Logan O'Hoppe, or give up Logan O'Hoppe, a catcher to the Angels, who was the 3 prospect in Philadelphia, becomes the number 1 overall prospect with the Angels. So that kind of shows you how great the Angels minor league system is. They get Ben Brown, or give up Ben Brown, number 26 prospect, I believe, in the Syndergaard trade, and then an outfielder, Jadiel Sanchez, who's a minor prospect. So good gets for both the Astros and the Phillies. Like I said, kind of similar, had 3 big needs. They filled them all. For losers, the Cubs, you probably feel the same way I do. I don't know why Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ are both on that team still. Kind of the same thing that the Rockies did last year with Trevor Story, I think, is that they hold on to a guy like Contreras and Happ, and will take a compensatory pick for him in free agency. They'll give him the qualifying offer and just kind of let him walk. But with all the stuff that came out about Contreras and Happ, like I said, I think in the TikTok, that there was a report out there that like every team in baseball was inquiring about Ian Happ, and there were some reports out there that said maybe the asking prices for the Cubs, they may have priced themselves out and wanting too much for Castro or for Contreras and Happ. But again, kind of the same thing with the Red Sox. Like, you should be selling off these pieces that probably aren't going to resign or might not resign. Now there's some people that think Contreras might stay, but weird deadline for the Cubs. They obviously sell off Robertson and Givens. They trade away a rookie in Efros, which again didn't make a ton of sense to me. But keep a guy like Contreras and Happ. It's kind of confusing, to say the least. Do you have any idea why they would do that?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
I saw that Contreras and Happ had like a hug, like itself.
Very awkward now. Yep.
Yeah.
Very awkward.
That they're both on the team, but yeah, it's just one of those dumb situations is where it's like, yeah, they ask for too much, so they get nothing for them.
Yep. That's how that goes. Way to go, dummies.
The Rockies is the most predictable thing. You could say like, oh yeah, maybe not this year because Daniel Bard and like you have listed your CJ Cron could have been moved amongst other guys, but the Rockies are weird. You talked about this most recently with the whole Trevor Story situation. You've talked about the Chris Bryant situation.
Yep. They're the most confusing team. I know we just crapped on the Red Sox for not knowing what the hell what they're doing, but the Rockies take the cake when it comes to that. Like, they have no clue what direction they want to go in. It seems like they extended Bard. I saw that report came up before the deadline, is they weren't going to trade him and they were actually going to extend him. Again, CJ Cron would have been a good, like you said, good first baseman for a lot of teams. They keep him. Chad Kuhl was having a really good season. Kind of a surprise, came out of nowhere. He obviously used to pitch with Pittsburgh. They could have maybe moved him. Jose Iglesias was a guy that I thought probably could have got a decent amount of traction from some team, or a contending team could have used him. They trade none of them. Might lose Cron in free agency. Again, they're extending Bard, which I guess you're looking to compete next season. Obviously, when you bring in Chris Bryant, you're probably trying to compete, but like, I don't get where their head's at. I don't know how you could be a fan of that team and maybe understand what they're doing, because it doesn't seem like they really have any sort of plan. And again, like if you were in a division that's a little weaker, then maybe you can get away with these moves, but you're competing with the Dodgers and now the Padres, who have 5 of the top 10 players in baseball maybe on that team. Like that's an absolutely stacked team for the next couple of years, especially if they can extend Soto. The Giants, they've had a down season this year, but you're behind them if you're the Rockies. So like, why wouldn't you just kind of go and hit the rebuild button and maybe try to catch the Dodgers in a couple of years when maybe they have some guys that are under or off of their books and maybe didn't resign, or I just don't get it. Like, again, it kind of the theme of the night when it comes to them and the Red Sox, who I have as a trade deadline loser too, maybe with a slight lowercase L instead of an uppercase L when it comes to loser. Because again, just the Red Sox and the Rockies, we don't know what they're doing when it comes to any of the moves they're making.
Yeah, I mean, you don't trade Martinez, you don't trade Evaldi. Mm-hmm. The Phillies had interest in JBJ. You don't even just get rid of him. Like, you have no idea what you're doing, and that was very evident. Mm-hmm. The Orioles are still so weird because, like, you thought this was finally going to be the year they do something, and then they're just like, nah, prank, you're pretty good.
Trade your all-star closer,
and Mancini. So
trade the heart and soul of your team. Like,
they got a lot for Lopez though.
I mean, everything I saw, that was kind of one of the things I was going to say is like, okay, if you want to trade those guys, get something back. But a couple of the reports I saw was it's a lot of low end guy or low A or mid level, talent prospects. It kind of falls under the case of you
quantity over quality a little bit.
Yep. But I was going to say you want quantity over or quality over quantity, and they took the opposite way. They took quantity over quality instead of what I said. And again, like it's the Orioles. They probably weren't going to make any noise if they got into the playoffs. Maybe they would, because baseball is so weird when it comes to teams getting hot at the right time. But like I said earlier, the fact that you're 2.5 games out and you trade away arguably your 2 best players or 2 of your top 3 players, especially Mancini. Like, of all the years to trade Mancini, this is the one year that you're in it, and now you deal away Trey Mancini. Like, that's kind of a weird move there. Bizarre. Yep. And then the Guardians, like, this was kind of just to throw in one game back of the wild card, 1 game back in an AL Central that's been kind of open all season, and they make 1 trade for a minor pitcher. Like, you would have thought that maybe they would want to go for it more, maybe add a bat. I talked about it when I did the trade deadline preview. Their catching has been horrible. You would have thought Wilson Contreras would have been a great spot for them. But like you said, maybe the Cubs outpriced themselves and were stupid and asked for too much, and no team wanted to even meet the asking price. But Cleveland being a game back and not making any sort of substantial moves, trading away the only active Hall of Famer on their roster in Sandy Leon, like that's crazy. Maybe a boneheaded move there for them, and one that might come back to bite him in the ass. But like I said, could have used catching help, didn't get any there. Maybe an extra bat or 2, nothing. Some rotation or bullpen help, didn't get anything there. Weird decision for the Guardians to stand pat. Like the Dodgers, I'm not going to call them losers because it's the Dodgers, and they're just have such a talented roster to begin with. But kind of weird they do nothing other than add Joey Gallo. The Braves I would have had as losers, but they ended up getting Raisel Iglesias, I think, from the Angels right at the deadline. So that was a move that ended up helping them. But out of all the guys I have listed here, I'm not going to run through them all. We kind of mentioned Contreras and Happ. And you mentioned Martinez and Eovaldi. Any other names you were a little surprised that didn't get moved, or some guys that did get moved that you're kind of surprised about?
Yeah, the name at the top of the list, I thought Sean Murphy was going to go somewhere. Mm-hmm. And with the A's, gutting practically their whole roster over the past, little around a year, you think they would just trade Murphy too, because they're not sniffing the playoffs.
Nope.
And we're just talking about Cleveland. They need a catcher. Can't get
it. Didn't seem like there was any market
for Murphy for.
Yeah. But I don't know. To me, it just didn't seem like, other than like backup. Again, the only thing you really heard was Houston wanted the backup catcher, and they got it in Vasquez, and that was really it for the catching market. There didn't really seem to be one. And again, catchers, I think I talked about this last week doing the preview. Like the catching market trade deadline is always kind of difficult to gauge because you don't really know how to, weigh a catcher. Do you want a more offensive guy or a more defensive guy? How is that guy when he gets to whatever team he's traded to? How is he going to gel with the pitching staff that he now has to learn and, get accustomed to? So maybe some teams are more afraid of trading for catchers than maybe other players. But Murphy was interesting to me, not going anywhere for the same reasons you said. If you're Oakland, you're blowing it up. You traded Montas, you traded Trevino. Get something for Murphy. On the flip side of that too, Ramon Laureano stays. I thought he was an outfielder that probably could have helped the team defensively. No surprise that Shohei Ohtani stays. The Angels very early said they weren't going to trade him. Just some other names kind of going through it. Nelson Cruz to me was interesting that he didn't get dealt. Again, kind of the same thing. The Nationals aren't playing for anything. Maybe you could have gotten something for a veteran bat who tends to get moved at this time of year. Obviously, was traded at the deadline last year to the Rays. The interesting one that came down to the wire, Whit Merrifield, I don't know if you saw this, got traded to the Blue Jays, and apparently he cannot play in Toronto. He's one of those
not getting vaccinated.
Oh, he's one of those not vaccinated guys. They said that I saw that on Twitter. It was like the Blue Jays have traded. What's up?
I figured they were gonna trade. Like that was one of those trades like Benintendi. If he got traded there, he's gonna get vaccinated.
Probably will be, but the funniest thing I saw was the meme of the Moneyball, which Jonah Hill's character is like, this is so-and-so. He does this, this, and this. And the only problem is that the meme was, this is Whit Merrifield. He's a great utility guy that fits into our lineup. But the only problem is he can't play in our arena in our own country or whatever the hell it was, or a stadium in our own country. But like,
I thought you were about to say like the trade got nixed.
No, he got traded to Toronto, and then it came out that, yeah, he got traded to Toronto, and then it came out he was one of those like 10 guys the Royals had a couple weeks ago that couldn't play in Toronto because they weren't vaccinated. He's one of those guys, so it's kind of curious to see if that'll get resolved or what. I'm assuming it will, but obviously I haven't seen anything yet. So kind of an interesting deal there for the Blue Jays. Like I said, the Brewers trading away Josh Hader, getting Trevor Rosenthal, who I think's pitched like 3 games for the Giants, had been coming back from an injury. That was kind of an interesting one. Again, be interesting to see if the Brewers can keep it together or if they're just kind of, not pack it in, but, be affected by losing their all-star closer who's, been a rock there for so long. Nothing really else too crazy. Again, you said it, the Juan Soto and Josh Bell deal is the biggest deal that has ever gone down in baseball. So a huge get there, obviously, for the Padres, and then the Nationals. Like, it tough being a Nationals fan. You see Juan Soto go out, you see Josh Bell go out, get a ton of good prospects back. But it's going to be a while before that team starts to make any noise in that division, because it's the future. The future's bright, but right now it's dark times in the nation's capital when it comes to their baseball team.
Yeah, and Don Orsillo got to introduce.
Yep, awesome. Yep, awesome video, awesome picture.
Win a ring this year. That's gonna be awesome. I am all in on the Padres officially now. So that's about that. I'm very excited to watch this team. I might actually start watching some baseball outside of the Red Sox. So
there are way more interesting teams and more competitive teams to watch. That is for sure.
He has coined the name Slam Diego, and that adds to the slam aspect. So
for sure.
We do have some somewhat breaking news in the NHL real quick. I will talk about quickly. Kailer Yamamoto, 2 years, $3.1 million per with Edmonton. So that settles another matter for them. They recently signed Puljujärvi, I think last week, to a 1 year, $3 million deal. Now they signed Yamamoto. So just a quick little tidbit of news. We'll see the Bruins loan RFA probably signed within the week until next show. His arbitration hearing is the 11th. There's a chance that deal gets done before the hearing, but we'll see what happens with Pavel Zacha. Any final baseball notes?
No, the one thing you brought him up, I was going to ask you, what if you had to do a prediction for money-wise? What is your very early, or not very early, but what's your early prediction for what his contract could look like for one final hockey thought?
Yeah, for Pavel Zacha, I'm going just under $3 million for 3 years.
Okay.
I put out a poll earlier.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. And I put like AAV, what do people think? 2.5 to 2.75, 2.75 to 3, 3 to 3.25, or 3.25 to 3.5. And leader currently with 58 votes total at 48.3 of those. 43% of those 58 votes is the 3 to 3.25 million range. I just have a feeling it's going to be like just under 3. He made 2.25. I think with his production and his age and market value, I think with Puljujärvi now getting 3, you have Yamamoto getting 3.1, different players than Zacha, but like same age range.
Kind of have an idea.
Similar production in some ways. I think he'll get like 2.9, maybe like 2.95, maybe 3 on the dot, 3x3. Do the Derek Forbort, Mike Riley special.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm looking at around there. I'd be surprised if he gets anything more than 3 years. I think 2-3 years is the sweet spot. We'll see him clock in at. And then, if he gets more than like 3.25, I'll be a little bit surprised. But if you were to get like 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, I wouldn't call that an overpay. But like, I think that ideal sweet spot range is like 2.8. I think you can get him as low as 2.5 personally, but
Okay.
I bet he's gonna be like more like 2.7 to 2.9 range per year. So that's where I'm at with Zaka. I think there's a good chance we have a deal for him by our next show. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe
Nice.
we'll have Bergeron and Krejci as well. Maybe we'll have some Pasternak news on contract discussions on an extension, and maybe we'll have some Riley Durant and Don's Luck Mellis stuff to talk about in the World Juniors. Wait, Luck Mellis might be in the Winter World Juniors though. I didn't actually look into that too much, but either way, we'll be looking at our Latvian boy Dons at some point in the future in international competition. Go Dons, go. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for episode 106 here tonight. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can rate us on Spotify or Apple if you feel so inclined to do so. Follow Full Press Coverage on YouTube and Twitch. You can download the Full Press Coverage app as well to listen to us there and check out other Full Press content. Follow me on Twitter at Mike_Cratty. You can follow Ryan at Ryan_Salvaggio, and you can follow the show at Sal and Cratty Pod. You can follow our TikTok. Just throw Salvaggio and Cratty in there. You'll find us. You'll find the logo. All that good stuff. Check out our content there. And until next time, next Wednesday, hopefully we'll have some Bruins news, like I said, and some other good stuff, maybe some Patriots stuff. So we will talk to you then. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people. Try not to overheat too much tomorrow because it's going to get hot if you're in Mass. So we'll talk to you next week. Peace.